Act 1, Scene 6. So, in this particular scene, it's a small scene. It's the arrival of Duncan at the Macbeth household, or the castle in Inverness. So it starts off with some references to birds. Now, we've heard of the raven in the last scene, and we've heard of some other birds before that. So there is that reference of reference to animal imagery and birds, and they will become more plentiful as the story goes along. So just to mark that as well. But Duncan, in his usual innocence and naivety, and also his generosity of spirit, never seeing anything wrong with any situation, as he rides towards the castle with Banquo and his attendants. So he obviously, as a king, has a huge retinue that come with him. So here's part of it here. Enter on the stage the king, Duncan, the king, Malcolm and Donalbain, his sons, Banquo, of course, Lennox, Macduff, Ross, Angus, and attendants. So Lennox, Ross, and Angus we've heard of before. They are servants of the king high up in the court. Macduff we haven't met before, and we will meet him pretty much in the next scene. He won't really be discussed in this scene. Duncan, he admires the castle. This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself upon our gentle senses. So this is a beautiful castle set in a beautiful setting. The air is lovely and it nimbly recommends itself upon our senses. So again, there's this sort of evidence again here that Duncan really only sees the best in every situation, and he cannot possibly know, of course, what's ahead for him and the plotting that's going on inside the Inverness castle. However, it's sort of an indication also that he is a very good, genuine, generous person, but who also hasn't even the smallest clue when he's in danger. Banquo says, "This guest of summer, the temple haunting martlet, does approve." So there's a martlet singing beautifully, the guest of summer. It's a lovely little bird. "Does approve by his love's missionary. That the heaven's breath smells wooingly here, no jutty frieze, buttress nor coinage of vantage, but this bird hath mit his pendant bed." So all over the castle there are little nests suggesting life and suggesting bird life. And the procreant cradle, so nesting and procreation of more birds. "Where they must breed and haunt. I have observed the air is delicate." So the gentlemen are coming here really innocently, coming for a feast. Supposedly the celebration of the great victory in Scotland and a celebration of Macbeth's great bravery. They land at the castle doors and enters Lady Macbeth to greet them. Duncan says to Lady Macbeth, see our honoured hostess. The love that follows us sometime is our trouble, which still we thank as love. Herein I teach you how you shall bid God and yield for your pains and thank us for your trouble. So Duncan is very well aware that when he arrives at a castle, a huge amount of fuss ensues. So he is both thanking her, but also apologising for maybe causing her some trouble. And he actually gives her some coins to thank her, for the trouble she has gone to. Lady Macbeth, duplicitous, duplicitous, duplicitous. All our service, in every point twice done and then done double, were poor and single business to contend against those honours, deep and broad, wherewith your majesty holds our house. So all the trouble we've gone to, double then done double, would be a poor and single business compared to the honour you are bestowing on us by arriving at our house and staying in our house overnight. Now this is the same woman who in the last scene was steeling herself to help her husband to commit the fatal act of regicide upon this poor man. For those of old and the late dignities heaped up to them, we rest your hermits. So the king would tend to have hermits, holy men who would pray for him. And she's saying, you don't even need to have your holy men here because I am praying for you double. So her ability to be two-faced is really quite flabbergasting. Duncan says, where is the Thane of Cawdor? As in, where's your husband? Because protocol would dictate, of course, that Macbeth should be at the front door greeting his king. We coursed him at the heels and had a purpose to be his purveyor, but he rides well. And his great love, sharp at his spur, hath holp him to his home before us. So we did pass him, but he was he had the speed of us. He's far faster than us, and he was trying to get to his great love, yourself, of course. Fair and noble hostess, we are your guest tonight. So, where is your husband? Lady Macbeth says, your servants ever have theirs themselves, and what is theirs in count, to make their audit at your great highness' pleasure, still to return your own. So we are your servants, and everything we have is yours. Give me your hand, says Duncan. Conduct me to mine host. We love him highly. Underline that. We love him highly. He has a blind regard and respect and love for Macbeth, who has saved him and Scotland from inevitable failure. Conduct me to mine host. We love him highly, and shall continue our graces towards him. Meaning, I will continue to promote him in any which way I can. Again, kind of an irony, because the only way really that he can promote him is by giving up his own seat. By your leave, hostess. So that's the end of that scene. Sometimes these smaller scenes are very important, just for putting, getting a guest to arrive, or, just, giving a piece of information. So Duncan has landed in the castle. He has been received beautifully by the courteous and respectful Lady Macbeth, who puts on a real double face when meeting with him. But just that important part, just to reiterate at the beginning of the scene, that he talks about the delicate air and the nimble seat of the castle. So again, there's a sort of a naivete that kind of goes with Duncan. He has no sense for when he's in danger. That's how the rebels were able to take Scotland in the first place. That is how the Norwegians were able to enter. He just doesn't have that cutting edge. I mean, I'm not saying he should know that when he lands to somebody's house they're going to murder him, but it does show this undercurrent of innocence that is part of his nature.